Okay, this is tutorial 3 for our throw and hit games. We have bananas getting thrown up at each of the dinosaurs going back and forth. Last time when we ended, we left off here where we have sprites that are coded to be able to fire things back and forth and a reset button that brings everything back to normal. What we want to do now is add in player number 2 over here on this side. So that means duplicating a lot of the commands we have and also establishing that we have a right and a left. So starting off here on the actual cat, we can duplicate our cat to be on the other side. Sprite 1 for right now, but just to keep things straight, we're going to call this one cat L for cat left, and then we'll have a cat over here, cat right. So we will duplicate this. I'm a spatial person, so I'm going to keep both cats right next to each other. And instead of cat L2, we'll call it cat right, which I think is a little less confusing. I'm actually going to say it's a lot less confusing. So we'll bring this one down here. And we notice that he's facing the wrong direction. So we'll go into costumes and we'll go into flip horizontal. And same thing with our other costumes. We want to flip those around so the two cats are facing each other. If we go into our code, the only code that's really on the cat is when they receive this fire command. The costumes have to change to look like it's tossing the basketball. All right. This one says fire L right now. We're going to make a new message that's going to be fire R. And we'll send that out in just a little while. That way both cats don't move at the same time when something is thrown. There's one for the left and one for the right. Just to test this out, we can put in a when flag is checked to see and make sure everything flipped the right way, which it looks like it did. Okay, so eventually we will use that fire R command when we get to making our second sprite to fire the left and fire the right, which we can actually do now. This one right here is called sprite 2, which will make it established to make it less confusing. We'll call it fire L. Right, so I have my fire on the left. And then this one's our reset button is actually called sprite 3 right now, which I don't like. We'll call that reset. Okay. We're not going to need two reset buttons. The reset button will actually be able to do everything from right in the middle. Right, reset will reset the entire game. So we have our fire L, and we will duplicate to make fire R. We'll put these two right next to each other just to keep them straight, and fire R. So if I click this, you can see that one's firing the left-hand side for right now. We'll make that one fire R, and hopefully, yes. All right, so that's going to trigger this cat over here, and then we'll have to make the second basketball to go in over here. All right, so we have basketball. We'll call this one basketball L. And now we're going to need to duplicate and make basketball right. Okay, so looking at the basketball commands, we can see that we have, first of all, for our reset button that's going to bring it back to where the other basketball was before, we're going to want our new position, which is right here on the cat. So we will look at our coordinates, 194, negative 139, but in our motion it's already populated 194, negative 139. We can just put that in here for these and delete this other block. I think we actually see it right over here for this reset when it hits the ground and goes back. We'll delete those other blocks, so that should be good now. All right, our reset is good, but in our basketball right, the commands are all fire left, so we're going to want to change all these to our fire right. Okay, making progress here. So let's see what it looks like now. Perfect. We're triggering the basketball, it's shooting up the way it's supposed to go. Now we can probably see, obviously, this is shooting the basketball behind itself because our X component is positive for what we had over here. We want it to be positive to throw it at the other cat. Now we need to make this change X component negative, so the basketball is going to be going this way. If we look into right here, where X velocity changes, we just make that negative 20. Now we're going the correct way. All right, making progress here, and we are almost ready to go. The last part of this is we have our variables of y velocity and x velocity, which work very well for the cat on the left. Right? We can change our amounts that we want to throw, and we want to be able to do that over here. Right? We don't want the same x and y velocities to be for these two same cats. We want this to have its own set of commands. So let's go into our variables and let's change these to be for the left side. So we have x velocity L, and right now this is going to be y velocity L, and then we're going to make two new ones for over here, y velocity right and x velocity right. All right, so we have two new variables. We'll bring them over here. And again, we right click on these. That's how we get that slider thing. And then we have this. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to need to go through and change to make the y velocity R and x velocity R to be coded for this basketball. So we are in this basketball right now. Let's make our x velocity R to be for in here. The left can come out, and then we have our y velocity right over here. We'll take that one and move it out. All right, so let's see how we're doing so far. All right, things are looking pretty good. All right, awesome. And then resets are working for over here. Now we just have to make them reset for over here on this side. So if we go into our reset command, we're broadcasting reset to bring the basketballs back to where they belong, but we're just going to need to make our variables go back to normal. We'll put our two rights in here. Y right, X right. There we go. All right. That brings us up to the end of tutorial number 3. Our final tutorial is going to be about scoring when the basketball actually hits these cats. We wanted to, of course, give a score and move the position as well. Otherwise, you just keep racking up the score once you find out what the numbers are to hit the other